Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. It is Starrapter, and here we are for episode number 11 of. Actually, I'm going to cut that out because it's not episode 11. We are having fun here tonight on Outer Rim Transmission, and we're going to cut this all out of the podcast, so this is going to be fun. Um, I know we're live this time. So there you go. There's a blooper right there in the beginning for everybody watching live or watching after the fact. All right, three, two, one.
I know we're live.
Oh, I'm hearing some background echo from somebody.
Nope, that was me by accident.
Redo. Okay, three, two, one.
Take three.
Hello, everybody. It's Starrapter here. Welcome back to the channel. This is Outer Rim Transmission number 15. Welcome back to the podcast. As always, we are joined by Milton and Ben, and this week we are going to be talking all about that awesome Star Wars Visions. New Star Wars anime is coming soon. We also have more updates on Rogue Squadron as well as the Mandalorian. Plus, as always, we'll save it for the end of the show. We have the Bad Batch to break down. So how you guys doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me today.
Yep, I'm doing good as well. Thanks for having me. It's always a blast talking Star Wars on Friday nights.
Yeah, last we left off, we were about to celebrate 4th of July. So how was your guys' holidays?
It was busy. Just had a lot of family stuff. It's going to be nice to actually have a weekend to myself for once. So busy. I really enjoyed myself, and now it's time to relax.
Oh, yeah. Same here. It was a lot of fun. Typical, cookouts, eating a lot of food, swimming, just a good old American 4th of July.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I was down at the beach, fireworks all over the place. And even, the days after, they're still firing fireworks off for some reason. And, that's just America for you, for all those listeners overseas. We just love our fireworks over here. So we're going to get into, as we always do, our week in Star Wars. And I'm going to throw it to Milton first. Do you have anything noteworthy to share with us about Star Wars this week?
No, not really this week. Normally, you guys know me. I usually go to a toy convention or a vintage store. Not this week, but hopefully this Sunday I'll have an opportunity to do so. So if I see anything cool, I'll definitely report back. Because like I said, I think it's important that we continue to explore Star Wars in whatever medium that we do have. Toys, comics, movies, whatever. So that's going to be my mission this weekend, hopefully.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with, stumbling across a flea market or some kind of vendors selling just old school Hasbro figures. They pop up more and more now that I go to these sort of things because they're just becoming more and more classics. For me, I didn't really do anything specific. Like, I'm still listening to that awesome Shatterpoint audiobook. I picked that back up again. I'm listening to that. Really just enjoying the heck out of that. Matthew Stover, somebody needs to give him a canon novel to do because, that's all he's ever done is Legends stuff, but, super, super cool there. I'm not quite done. I'm going to do a little show and tell, so sorry for all the audio listeners. If you want to go back and watch the video to actually see what I'm going to show you guys, is I've been working, guys, if you know the channel, I do the Star Wars Legion stuff, miniatures. So I have almost completed my AA5 speeder truck. It might not look familiar at all because it's kind of a very obscure vehicle in Star Wars. It's for the Rebels, so they needed to have some kind of Rebel transport in the game. So they pulled this thing from one of the video games. It's the miniature game Star Wars Commander. I don't think you could play it anymore. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. You could actually take the top off. Hopefully I don't break anything while doing this live. Here we go on camera. There we go. And it actually has like a little place you can go inside. You can put your troops in there. It's a transport type of vehicle. So a lot of fun there. I'm almost done. I just gotta weather it, basically put some battle damage on it, and she'll be pretty much ready to go. Then I gotta do my LAT I have waiting for me. I gotta build that up. So yeah, a lot of fun to be had. The summer is always a nice time for me to just chill out in air conditioning and just paint and build some miniatures. And I know Ben has a mysterious thing he's been hyping me and Milton up with like all day. So maybe he'll make up for the two of us not having much to say this week.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's really cool, Chris. And as you said, Milton, your Star Wars experience, it can vary week to week, but even if you don't have a specific experience, you're still excited about all the new Star Wars things, and Star Wars is still a part of your daily life, whether whether you intend it to be or not. But
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. You're absolutely right. So,
oh yeah. Well, so guys, I've been hyping up all day, and I wasn't sure exactly what my week in Star Wars was going to be this week. And as Chris said, sorry to anybody listening to the podcast. You'll have to come back to the YouTube channel to check this out. So we were over at my grandparents today, and we were looking through the barn and looking at old stuff, and I found one of my old totes out there. And as Milton mentioned the word vintage. Going back to my childhood back in 1998, I used to collect all sorts of these things. Good old Star Wars pop cans from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I found Obi-Wan.
Shit.
Yep, I found Obi-Wan. Hold on. I found let's see here. If this can's a little blurry. I found Darth Maul. So
Fire.
yeah,
Oh,
I found
sick.
Yep,
Wow, I forgot about those.
I found all these old cans. Hold on, it gets better. I found Padme, or Queen Amidala on this can. She wasn't even called Padme on this can.
Wow.
And then who else do I got over here? Yeah, I found so many. Rest in peace to Qui-Gon, because his can was completely exploded. So he's not with us today. I found a Jabba can. This Jabba can is actually in like almost perfect condition.
Wow.
And then I found, what we got here. I found and the cool thing about these cans, Rick Ollie, the pilot
guy
from Naboo.
That guy that got hyped up so much, he had all the action figures and he had like 5 lines.
Yep. He's the one. What is it? He's like, the deflector shields are still up, or whatever he says.
Right. Now I remember the
Yep.
commercials for those those Pepsi commercials and Mountain Dew commercials. And actually, now to think about it, they used to have the the race cars. NASCAR had, I think Jeff Gordon had like the Pepsi car.
Yep.
With the Phantom Menace, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Jeff Gordon did.
Yep.
Like I said, back then there was Pizza Hut was doing the promo as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Taco
look,
Bell.
here's even like Palpatine, and look, you can even
crazy.
see the Star Wars logo on the side. Like these cans. I mean, it's so cool just getting the throwback, getting to see all these cans, because it's like, they're 22 years old now, so it's like just seeing these type of cans, like it just brings back so many memories from just from being a kid. And then I got Captain Panaka.
Oh, I used to love that character. I had like a fascination with that guy. We used to run around the backyard, reenacting Star Wars, and I would always have this like hockey stick that I like taped the 2 pieces together that'll look like a gun. Basically, I was like, I have Captain Panaka's gun, and I'd be like running around. I don't know, it's such like an obscure thing to say, but it was like, yeah, we're gonna kill the droids.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Ben, I'm very impressed, man. That I forgot about those sodas. That's insane.
Yep. Oh yeah. So I found those. Like I said, it stinks because I was like, oh man, there was probably another 10 of them that were just like destroyed. But Qui-Gon, there was Qui-Gon laying there. There was a droideka laying there. There was Sebulba. There was young Anakin. There was a couple of the Nemodians. Like it literally had 2 Nemodians on the can, the 2 faces for the 2 main guys. And it had Yoda was on one of them, but those were all like exploded.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I found those and I was like, oh, because at first when I found those, my dad was like, wait, you want to take those home with you? Those are just pieces of trash. I was like, no, they're not trash at all. They're going to be on the podcast tonight. So
yeah.
So yeah.
Do you also remember, Ben, speaking of these soda cans, do you remember the old MTV fight clubs, or what they called it? They did the claymation.
Celebrity Deathmatch?
Yes, Celebrity Death Matches. I remember them doing a commercial for like Brisk iced tea with like Darth Maul, Yoda. It was pretty badass. Like I know it's on YouTube. I'm sure you can find them. But yeah, because I remember they tied him into like the Pepsi, the Mountain Dew, and like the Brisk tea back in the day. I was like, again, late '90s, early 2000s. It was nuts.
Oh yeah. Like I love all of those old things, and I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for more of these type of little vintage things whenever we're over at my grandparents or whenever we're digging around the attic here.
Right.
But yeah, so it was like I got to bring these onto the podcast, got to show the guys, especially after you both said, our weeks in Star Wars was just kind of normal. It wasn't anything over the top. So I was like, well, I'll make up for it with a little show and tell presentation and
That's
found these
funny.
cans.
Damn, I now have to go back to my mom's house because I know for a fact I have a Naboo spaceship, like the little starship, the yellow one.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I have that at my mom's house still.
Really?
got
That's
one too.
awesome.
Yeah, and like the R2 unit pops up
Yep.
in and out. So I'll make sure I make a point to get out there this week and get it and bring it onto the show.
Yeah, definitely. Ah, man, I'm just so nostalgic for Phantom Menace stuff. You know, that was our Star Wars. We're all around the same age, so most of us kind of grew up with that movie. Whether or not the other generations think it's crap or okay, hey, I always have a sweet spot for that merch in my heart.
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I feel like, compared to even Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith or the sequel, especially any of the movies nowadays, but all of the promotions for Phantom Menace were so big because Star Wars is back, and like we have all these different crazy promotional material pieces from as we said, with the pop cans to Pizza Hut to Taco Bell to just everywhere. It was just such a special time growing up as a Star Wars fan. Like no matter where you went or whatever it was, Star Wars was everywhere, and it just made such a big splash on its comeback. And
Yeah,
I feel like we haven't had that type of a marketing campaign since that movie.
Right.
I feel like Force Awakens was there.
Force
I feel like
Awakens.
Force
I feel like
Awakens was
Force
there.
Awakens did.
Because
But
I mean, you've seen Star Wars everywhere when that movie's about to come out. All these promotional things with different, different entities, different businesses, and all that. And then Force Friday was huge. To just go to any place and just have that rush of people like getting carts full of figures. It really brought back the Phantom Menace kind of vibe again, at least from my experience.
Oh yeah, I would say Force Awakens did, but my thing is I'm not sure if I felt like it was. Then again, it could be just nostalgia too. But I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was like as everywhere. Like it was like like you said with some of the online stuff, like all of the marketing we saw online. But I feel like it was more like for Phantom Menace, anyways. For me, I feel like the marketing was more product based and things, just because social media didn't exist then. So it was. I feel like it was more potentially widespread product wise. I mean, social media, I'm sure. I guess back then you could have posted it on like a website or something, but nothing really like social media is today.
Yeah. So for everybody that's listening or watching after the fact, send us your thoughts. You could always use the hashtag Outer Rim Transmission if you have let's just start it here. Hashtag Our Week in Star Wars. Go ahead. Use those hashtags, send us pictures, send us just little tweets about what you've done, anything interesting. We're always willing to hear and try to build this community of Outer Rim Transmission. We want to build this community up, create more engagement with us here to kind of have fun with you guys out there. So there you go. It's not just listening. Hey, you guys can be active too. So we're going to move on into some news stories here. I'm definitely going to start with what we have here for Rogue Squadron. We've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, I feel like. Patty Jenkins has been making the rounds, just doing different interviews. This one comes from the Hollywood Reporter this week, and it has to do with how long she's been working on Rogue Squadron. So they ask her, basically, are you all suited up and all that? How's development going, basically? And she's saying, this is quote, "It's going amazing. I had been on it already for 6 months before I even announced that. Sorry, the website's like glitching out with advertisements here. Announced that, so we're pretty deep into it. We're finishing a script, crewing up, and it's all going wonderful. I'm so excited about the story and excited that we're on the next chapter of Star Wars, which is such a responsibility and such an opportunity to really start some new things. It's really exciting in that way. So what dawned on me from this statement? There's another statement we're gonna bring up in a couple of minutes, but how they've already been working on it for 6 months even before the announcement was made. I mean, we talked last week about the writer that was announced, so they're deep into this development, but already 6 months. Like, oh wow, that kind of shocked me. Would you any opinions or any thoughts on just knowing how far in development they are so far, guys?
Right. I mean, I'm not surprised just because I mean it's Kathleen Kennedy, it's Disney, it's Patty Jenkins. Like she's probably known about this project far before they made the announcement. So I'm not surprised that she's made these comments. So to me, I think most projects work this way. You know, people get their teams together, they start their planning, they start their production, and then the announcement comes later about who's involved in that type of thing. Clearly, Patty Jenkins is a big name in Hollywood. She's hot right now with the Wonder Woman projects. So I think with the news coming out about what she's been doing in the last 6 months, again, I'm not surprised. This is clearly a passion project for Patty Jenkins. She's made it very clear. So from my perspective, I'm glad she's saying this. I'm glad that she's been in the trenches from day one. She hasn't really played around with it. I mean, I know we've gotten the news that Wonder Woman 3 will be coming out later, so I think this is good to know that this is her focus. It's going to be solely on Star Wars. And overall, I like Patty Jenkins as a creator. You know, she hasn't just done one Wonder Woman. She's done other TV shows or small films where she knows how to tell an intimate story. And I think, honestly, from my opinion, I think we'll get a very intimate story within Rogue Squadron. So yeah, I'm cool with it. I think it's good news.
Yeah, Ben.
Oh yeah, I completely echo all of that. I think it's really good news. You know, as you said, Milton, it's great that this is we're assuming her main priority at the moment. So that's always a really big bonus. And then just the fact that it's been going on for so long, and we didn't really know that at all. Like that's really surprising for one, because so many things leak about Star Wars nowadays. Like I can't believe that's been under wraps. But I really am excited about the movie because I think it's trending in the right direction. I like that it's going to be in potentially a new era or post episode 9. And, I've had my critiques about Wonder Woman too, but, Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman was really good. Some of Patty Jenkins' other projects have been good, and her just filmography. I think she's going to be a really good fit for Star Wars. And, as you said, it's a passion project for her because her dad was a fighter pilot. So she's going to obviously take from some of her firsthand experiences, probably from hearing some of her stories from her dad and all of that. I really think it's going to be going in a good direction with her. But with all that being said, this is all exciting and everything, but us as Star Wars fans, we definitely should not get excited for a trailer anytime soon because I know the way we get sometimes. We're like, oh, this movie's been getting worked on for 6 months. That means we need a trailer in the next week. So I feel like the movie's going to keep getting worked on for at least another year. I don't think we'll have a trailer for a long time because this movie comes out in 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we probably won't have a trailer until the end. It's probably going to actually be the post-credit scene for Mando season 3, I would guess. I could see it being post Mando season 3, because Mando season 3 presumably maybe the end of 22 or so.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's when we'll get a trailer. But I don't think we'll get a trailer for it anytime soon, just because of how things are going. And Star Wars has plenty of other potential trailers to put out before they put out a trailer for a movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think we need a trailer anytime soon. If you're a fan asking for that right now, don't be that's irrational.
Don't be that person.
Yeah. Seriously, don't be that person. Let it sit. This is a project that, and again, as a hardcore sweaty fan of Star Wars as we are here, our feelings and our emotions have been up and down over the past 6 years, 7 years with Star Wars. So hopefully, again, I'm going to try here. Hopefully, with the director that I happen to trust, hopefully she can make Star Wars, this particular project, feel like Star Wars. If it comes anything close to Rogue One, then I'll be happy. If it's anything close to the prequels or the original trilogy, I'll be happy. Again, make it fresh, make it new, but I want to feel like I'm in something familiar as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why this is resonant with me is because you look at the track record of Star Wars films in the last 6 years, whatever, and we were always having a film in development. As
Right.
Force Awakens was wrapping up, they were already like halfway done with Rogue One at that point, or whatever, right? So we were just used to like, oh, movie being made constantly. But then Rise of Skywalker ends, and it's gone like 2 years at this point, or whatever, since like we knew that there was a film in development at this rate. So it is nice to know that, hey, there are Star Wars movies out there being made, and this, it's not just a series now, and Lucasfilm is really kind of ramping up their production. Yeah, definitely don't expect a trailer until 2022, probably like mid
Right.
2022. I mean, there's gonna have some kind of presence next year at Star Wars Celebration, I hope. Even if they
Right.
just like get up there, if they have like, let's say, a future filmmakers panel, which they've done at previous Star Wars celebrations, maybe they'll have Taika Waititi there. Maybe he'll actually reveal the name of his movie on the same panel as Patty Jenkins reveals like this is like definitively set after the events of Rise of Skywalker. Like they could have so much hype built up on both of the movies without even giving us a trailer. Just give us some information. Just show us some. I don't know if they would be shooting at that point, but if they did, they could always show us like some behind the scenes, like, oh, this is a brand new character we have here, or oh, this is one of the legacy characters, and like Wedge, or here's Ray here, or somebody that would just get us hyped up. They don't need a trailer to get everybody excited and to carry the hype forward there.
No,
There's also yeah.
Ben or Chris, you make a great point because you said it. Star Wars Celebration. That's what next. That's
Yep.
2022, correct? The
That
next
is
one.
yeah. Next May, yeah.
So right there, do it like they normally do. Hall H, where they show like footage,
Hmm.
like a year before the movie comes out, do like a special trailer. So they right there, it's their personal platform. There's no need for them to rush a trailer. You have the platform. You're going to have tens of thousands of people wherever it's going to be at this year. I don't know where it's going to be at next year, but whether it's in Chicago, Orlando, wherever, you have tens of thousands of people. They live stream it, which they do a really good job with their live streams.
Hmm.
So you're going to have millions of eyes on that live stream on that particular day or days. So you can do it. Just do your own model like you've done with the last 4 movies with showing your footage, big trailer at Star Wars Celebration. That's how we got them. I mean,
That's
they,
right.
they, they have the map, the blueprints right there. So don't rush it. Don't rush it for the fans. We can wait until Star Wars Celebration because I will say that's one event I do watch every day when it comes out.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, there was also another cool thing she said. This is pertaining to the person's asking her, what is the consulting process like with the Star Wars Brain Trust? Basically, how is it working with the story group? Put it in simple terms. There's plenty of it. It's an entirely different way of working. I'm on the phone with all of them and doing Zoom meetings with everybody involved with Star Wars all the time. I'm fairly free to do the story the way I want it to, but do you really need to know who's done what, who's doing what, where it goes, and how it works, and what designs have been done before? It's a whole other way of working, and I'm getting used to it. So there you have it. That's basically her. And, the Star Wars brand has been renowned, but also maybe put down by some other creatives out there. Like, they are very tight on all of their story. Like, everything's got to line up. I mean, that's what Star Wars canon is all about, having that timeline. And we're going to talk a little bit more later in this episode about how that is starting to get skewed just a little bit with new projects coming out. But as far as Rogue Squadron, it's pretty cool, like how she's, they're talking about the process. I'm always very interested to see like how the process is with fitting a story in. Why is it a good way to tell the story now? And just how she has freedom to do the story, because I know a lot of people were like wanting, hey, let's just have a straight adaptation of the Rogue Squadron series of novels. And, she's coming out here saying like, hey, I'm probably going to have my own take on it, obviously.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, like I can't get mad at her for that. And I'm sure I'm one of those people that probably said, look at the Rogue Squadron properties, video games, novelizations, whatever, and just adapt it. I'm sure I probably said it once in my life, or probably even on this podcast. At the same time, it's Patty Jenkins. I trust her work. My only request would be just cherry pick the best of what's in Rogue Squadron already. Cherry pick that, combine it with the original thoughts, because you can do it. Like, it's been done. So
there you have
it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I completely agree, Milton. I think some of the best parts of any of these new projects really are just cherry pick whatever the creative, whatever they really like, and run with it. And the thing is also, on the flip side, if they don't like some of the highlight moments of the Rogue Squadron books, okay, cool. But make sure you tell a really good, engaging story that people will enjoy, because even though it may be unfair sometimes, that is a standard that is in the back of fans' heads, whether the creatives at Star Wars like it or not. That is in the back of people's heads, because those are beloved books. So you just have to be careful with it when it comes to creating and cherry picking, or choosing to not cherry pick. You just have to create something that everyone loves.
Certainly. Moving over to the Mandoverse, as I call it. Oh, what's the Mandoverse? I just use that as a term that combines, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, now what could be the defunct Rangers of the New Republic, yada, yada, yada. So we have some news about that. The first one, Ben, you brought this one to my attention. This comes from a podcast in which Thomas Wayne, is that his name? Or
Brandon Wayne.
Wayne.
Thomas Wayne's Bruce Wayne's dad.
there you go. But the grandson of John Wayne. There you go.
Yep.
He was on a podcast and they were just like BSing, and somehow they got on topic with Mandalorian season 3, and he admits he has not read the scripts or anything yet. And I don't know, take this with a grain of salt, because obviously if he hasn't read the script, he doesn't really know for a fact, but maybe he heard it around the grapevine that this will be more like season 1. And what he means by that is we're going to get more character development specifically on Mando and some select few characters, rather than season 2's approach, which was giving us a whole bunch of awesome fan favorite characters from canon and all that, and bringing them into live action. So we're not going to have as much of that, probably, which is fine, because now we have all these spin-off shows for those characters to be in. I'll throw it over to Ben, since you're the one that alerted this one to my attention. What do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think with that, well, one thing is, it's always cool that John Wayne's grandson's in the show. Like, that's awesome. But for two, like you said, maybe he heard things through the grapevine, but with him being just like the stuntman for the show, he's most likely on a need to know basis. So I doubt he knows as much as like Pedro or anybody like that does. So that's a big thing there. But yeah, as you said, the big takeaway was it's going to be more like season 1, which to me, that means I feel like we're going to continue the whole Darksaber storyline thing with Bo-Katan. And maybe we're going to have more one-off, like little stories with Pedro, or with Din and Bo-Katan versus like Din and Grogu, and obviously versus the whole setup of season 2, where it was just like a lot of big guest appearances, which is great. Like I love season 2, but it was definitely a different formula than season 1, because we really didn't get many huge over the top guest appearances like we did in season 2. So I really think it's going to be interesting just to see how it plays out. And it's cool just seeing someone like a stunt person getting their share of the spotlight versus just Pedro Pascal or just Tamara Morrison or people like that. Like, it's cool letting like smaller actors basically get out there in the spotlight a little more.
Yeah, Milton, what do you think about about this as far as this could be a separate thing from season 2. We could see more of a return to season 1.
Right. Again, I'm fine with it. I mean, look, I think most shows, especially like after the first 2 seasons, tend to go away from their bread and butter. So and they try to experiment and try different things and overreach, and then a lot of times it don't work out. I.e., Arrow, The Flash, currently. So I think with Mandalorian seeing the successes of season 1 and 2. I think they understand, hey, this is the tone that people like. This is how we want our characters to react and certain things. And they've gotten the instant audience response every weekend because the people are doing shows like this talking about pretty much how they loved every episode of, both seasons. So I think it's smart that they're saying, hey, let's continue to use the same formula. Let's continue to bring in some new characters here or there when it's appropriate for the story. Let's continue our various storylines that we've already started from season 1 and 2, and let's add on to it. But don't take it off the rails where people are going to get turned off quick and say this is obnoxious. Like I'll use a sports analogy. When I played football in high school and college, a lot of our times our coaches will say, okay, if it's 4th and 2, we're not going to throw the damn ball. We're going to pound it down their face. That's how we always get our that's how we make our money. Bread and butter. Go to bread and butter. It's easy. Everyone knows it. Everyone's crisp. It's a well-oiled machine. That's how I look at the Mandalorian series right now. That's how I look at the whole universe. How everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone knows where they need to be. There's really no second guessing. So I'm hoping moving forward that Mando season 3 will have that same feel with some new wrinkles in there, but also still where they're pushing forward and getting first downs every episode.
Yeah, I really like that analogy. It makes perfect sense. Like, just
keep
do
it
what
simple,
you're good
dude.
at.
Seriously.
Yep. Oh yeah. I think, and sometimes the creators in Star Wars or any of the franchise, they try to outthink the obvious when it's just like you said, keep it simple. Don't get too cute with it. Just get the 2 yards. Get the 2 yards. Keep it moving. You don't need to run these big trick plays. Run it up the middle.
Get the 2 yards. That's the best way. That's the best way to look at it. Because you see a lot of times, and again, this ain't a sports podcast, people. Flash, I get that. But in a lot of times in games, when it's 4th and 2 or 4th and 1, people go play action. What the hell? Just do what Tom Brady does. You go with the quarterback sneak and get the first down. Then you can open your offense up when you get the first down. Like, it's just take what they're giving you. Like, so yeah.
You do that, you win 6 Super Bowls, or you make 6 great seasons of a show.
Right? Or I was going to say you win 6 Super Bowls and marry Giselle. So.
Facts.
Moving on to Book of Boba Fett. We got some hard, concrete information on this one. This comes to us from express.co.uk, where they report that Robert Rodriguez, Bryce Dallas Howard, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni are all set to direct episodes of Book of Boba Fett. So there you go. We didn't have to wait for very long to figure that one out. So it's nice to know that each one of these directors has already worked on The Mandalorian. So that just gives me even that more bit of confidence that I didn't really need to know already, because I knew that Robert Rodriguez was going to be on there. That's the guy that brought Boba Fett to the screen for the first time with that badass action sequence. We already knew Jon Favreau was going to be involved, but it's nice to see Bryce Dallas Howard, because she has really been on my radar ever since that first season, but then second season as well. She really did well with the, what was it, the third episode,
the Bo-Katan episode.
The Bo-Katan episode. I think it was episode 3 of season 2.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think so. Yeah. And because she directed the one in the first one where they're at the village.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, these are the directors we know. I don't know if this is the final list, because we're not even sure how many episodes this will be. I assume it's going to be 8 episodes, because that's how long The Mandalorian was, and especially now that we know that Mandalorian 3 is going to be further back pushed than we expect. So I figure they took extra, and this is just all speculation from my part. It seemed like they took longer than they originally wanted to for filming on Book of Boba Fett, and that would seem maybe they just have more to film, which means they have more episodes or longer episodes But I digress. I'm going to throw this one over to Milton. What do you think about all these directors being on board for the first season of Boba Fett?
I'm gonna just keep this short and simple. Not surprised, and it's a good thing. Like seriously, they're the ones that established this universe. Credit obviously to Filoni and Favreau for them being the brainchildren of this particular Mandoverse, as you put it. So with Bryce Dallas Howard, whose father is a great director, and she's learned from one of the best, Robert Rodriguez, who has a great director himself, who's done a lot of different type of genre films and has ties in with Quentin Tarantino, might I add you. And we all know Quentin's talked about potentially doing a Star Wars film
Oh,
someday in the future. So like again, these directors to me have a great track record of doing really good work. And I'm not surprised that we all know they had a good time doing the Mando show for the last couple years. So why not come back? Why not do an episode or two, of this particular show with a new character? Well, he's not a new character, but an old character in a new universe in a sense.
yeah, it really does feel like this is almost season 3 of Mandalorian now because
Yeah.
all these directors from The Mandalorian are on this, which means all their attention is directed on this show. Like, this is an important piece of the puzzle. If you want to get to understand everything that's going to happen in Mandalorian season 3, you're probably going to have to watch season 1 of Book of Boba Fett, because at the time I thought it might been split up. Like, hey, maybe some people are working on simultaneously with Mando season 3 alongside a Book of Boba Fett, but since they are so widely apart, like, they want our attention on the Book of Boba Fett, because it's not just like, oh, this is the spin-off series over here. If you like bounty hunters, go over there and watch that. If you're not, you can stay. No, it's literally like, this is an imperative thing. You have to. This is important. So, Ben, anything to say on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I echo everything you guys said. All the directors listed are great. I love seeing Tamara Morrison in the getting out talking about this show. That's a really big part of that interview and part of that article, which is really nice. Because he comes across as someone who's really excited about being in Star Wars, and he's seeming to really like it. And other than the directors, really, from that little bit of news, it's really great seeing, or it's just great seeing Tamara, like I said, be out there talking about it, because sure, we got Pedro, or we've had other actors like really be out there, but I feel like we've seen a lot of Morrison out there in the public eye lately, which is always really cool.
Yeah.
And he, even in that interview, they asked him like, hey, what do you think of, will there be a second season? And he basically said, we'll wait and see, which of course he's not going to be able. He literally said in the interview, you know how it is working for Star Wars. You're not allowed to say anything. And he just laughed. So, that's about like the only thing that came out of that interview. And then those directors listed. But my thing with the directors, it's either going to be, I think, 8 episodes, maybe 2 episodes apiece, or because I don't think we'll have any other directors, because, why would Tamara only bring up those 4 specific directors?
Sure.
So I think we're only going to just have these 4, but I think it's either going to be 8 episodes at 2 apiece, or it's going to be Rodriguez getting episode 1 in the season finale, and then the other directors getting the episodes in between.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for him to bring it for that initial episode, like riding off the high where he brought him in initially, and it makes sense for him to close it out. It seems like it was really kind of his project. Like, they were so happy with what they did. If you watched like the behind the scenes making of The Mandalorian, like, he had so much fun just like playing. It was like him and Tamara Morrison get along so well, because they're like playing guitar just like backstage, jamming
Grogu.
out with Grogu. He filmed the whole sequence with action figures. Like, it just seems like this guy, Robert Rodriguez, this is his like dream job, and he's enjoying it. And that's what's important, is like, all these people, this doesn't seem like it's a job for him. Like, this seems like it literally is like what they've always wanted to do, and they're going to throw as much passion into it. And the more passion I throw into it, the more we're going to love it as fans.
Chris, I mean, it's well said how you put it. Like, it was fun. We clearly saw how these directors had a really good time, and I can't speak any more highly of how they really brought a lot to this show, and you can feel it. I mean, even in some of the episodes where we thought they were just okay, like we still knew like they put a lot of time in it. We knew that they cared about what they were doing, you know. So to me, like if these guys want to be, you know, the I'm gonna use an '80s term, like the Rat Pack of the Mando universe, so be it. Like I'll take these directors all day.
Yeah, and apparently we are so happy about directors such as Dave Filoni that we're making action figures based on them. So just this, right before recording this, I thought it was just a mock-up job on Twitter. Apparently there's like a Hasbro Pulse releases for a Trapper Wolf action figure, a deluxe for like a Comic-Con exclusive or something like that. Comes with like a really nice like box set. And it's literally Dave Filoni's likeness. You got his his helmet is removable, and it's just hilarious. It's like I could not understand. I could not think this thing was real at first. I was like, no, this is a joke. And then I seen the official. I was like, this is finally like everybody's chance to get a Dave Filoni figure, and they just had to put him in a freaking live action Star Wars show to get that to work.
That's great. When you sent like you said, I thought that was a joke at first when I saw that on Twitter. And then when you added it to our show notes for the day, I was like, oh wait, that's actually real. Like that's really cool. And that instantly gave me a flashback to, I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was around when Attack of the Clones came out. They released an exclusive George Lucas figure. No. And that's what that made me think of, actually. I was like, oh man, now you have a Lucas figure out there floating around and a Filoni figure.
That's funny.
Oh, man. I mean, we already kind of have a Jon Favreau figure, but it's not actually him. It's his like voiced character from Solo Star Wars Story. Forget the character's name. What's the character? The four-armed Argaminian or something like that.
I forget. Yeah.
Ardinian guy. Yeah. It's funny. I can remember the damn species name and not the actual character name. Oh man! But getting into our top story for the week. Star Wars Visions. We had this announced back in December at the Investors Day. It was going to be an anthology of 10 episodes, anime, and we got our first look during the Anime Expo Light. We had a 30-minute presentation, and they had all the creators, the executive producers, and they were going through all the different episodes. So they basically came out with a little synopsis on each episode. They showed some concept art, and then after that they ended up putting out a like 2-minute trailer really explaining everything. Not an actual trailer, but you know, just behind the scenes concepts where we got a good idea of basically everything that is going to be coming out. So I'm going to just quickly go through each one of these titles, and if I am not pronouncing that, it's because I do not really read manga or you know, any kind of watching anime, so bear with me here on some of these pronunciations. So we have Kamikaze Duja, and they are doing The Duel. Then we have Geno Studio Twin Engine, Lop and Ocho. We have Studio Colorado Twin Engine, Tatooine Rhapsody. We have Trigger. They are doing The Twins as well as The Elder. We have Kinema Citrus, The Village Bride. We have Science Saru. We have Akakiri. And we have Science Saru. They are also doing TOB1. And finally, Production IG, The Ninth Jedi. So it's really neat because what's happening is they're getting all these Japanese studios, the seven studios I just said, and they're going to have 10 different shorts. And the cool thing is they're actually all coming out the same day, Wednesday, September 22nd. You're going to be able to stream each one of these. So that's a first for Star Wars. But what's interesting is these are all being able to be developed however these people want it. Basically, these aren't part of the official timeline. As you see the concept art, there's different samurai type lightsaber blades, and there's all these different sort of things that clearly make it part of a different kind of universe of Star Wars, which is neat. Like, I mean, I know there's a big flashpoint online. Oh, this isn't canon. Nah, 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 nah. I think it's just neat because it's just showing us a different side of Star Wars. These guys are able to really, we were talking a lot about Patty Jenkins, about how she had to, like, you know, go and do certain things based on what has already been done and all, whereas these guys are getting complete freedom to develop in their own Japanese culture, art style, whatever the heck they want to do. So I'll just throw it to you guys, throw it to Ben first. What do you think overall about the first reveal of Star Wars Visions, man?
Oh yeah, I'm really really excited for this show. Of course, like you said, there's some pushback about the not canon side of it, but to me, hey, whatever. Like let's tell a really good story. Let's make it interesting. You know, bring in different cultures. Like as a kid, I watched a few different animes. Like there was Naruto, that was a really popular one back then, or One Piece, or things like that. Samurai Jack on Cartoon Network, those type of things. So like just knowing that Star Wars is gonna do an anime project is amazing because they could go in so many different directions with it. As you said, this is not canon, so they can tell whatever story they want. Like you could have Darth Vader meeting Darth Maul, or you could have like anything. So I think it's going to be really really exciting, and especially with like the background of like samurais and things like that, I think it's going to make the whole Jedi perspective really interesting, because I'm sure we're going to get some really amazing like cinematography for the lightsaber work and the fights, because they'll be really over the top and everything.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And hey, I mean, whatever can bring back some form of like anime to Star Wars, because the last thing we really had was the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, but other than that, there hasn't really been anime in Star Wars. So it's going to be an exciting time, and it's just great because it comes out at like the tail end of Bad Batch. So we're going to get that. And then we're only going to have a short amount of lag time until the Book of Boba Fett. So it's a great time to be a fan.
Yeah, I'll throw it to you as the one that has a Dragon Ball Z background. What do you feel about Star Wars anime, Milton?
I was about to say the background that I'm rocking today. I actually have this painting framed in my house. I'm going to put it up eventually, but I wanted to use this background because of what we talked about today. One person I can mention who has influenced Star Wars is Akira Kurosawa. Okay, that name is synonymous with, Asian American or Asian filmmaking, or that type of, or I guess Japanese filmmaking, I should say. And George Lucas took a lot of those concepts of theme, religion, culture from Kurosawa and put it into Star Wars. So to me, this should have been coming. We should have had this probably 15, 20 years ago, because anime was becoming a thing, like really becoming popular in the early 2000s. Again, Dragon Ball Z's been around since 1980 something, but really I didn't get into it until the late 2000s when it became like over to the American side of things. So whether it's Samurai Jack, Dragon Ball Z, mangas, whatever, like those things are very popular in American culture. Clearly in the Chinese, Japanese culture, it's up there. Even another show I'm thinking of, Afro Samurai. Samuel Jackson voiced that character. So again, that's another Kurosawa influence type animation. So with Star Wars, it makes sense. I actually watched that trailer, and I didn't think I would like it when I first went to look at it, but I'm really into that, that type of filmmaking. After I watched it, I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to this show. And I don't care if it's not canon. That's okay with me. I want to see what these filmmakers and studios can do with Star Wars. Just seeing some of the concept art that they show in the trailer, some of the things they talked about, what they want to do with these particular characters that they're going to create and that's going to bring to the screen. This could be something great that they can eventually make into canon, or take characters that are creating in this new project and make them into canon. Like for all we know, like it looks really good. It's edgy. I like it. I'm on board with it. I'm going to watch the episodes. I'm glad they're all coming out in one day, because I'll probably binge through it in 2 days.
Well, Milton, I was going to say, to throw out there to you bringing up the potential possibility of this, we eventually getting some type of a canon anime show. This is kind of a little theory I have. I forgot to tell you guys about this, but so how many episodes did you say this was, Chris?
10.
10. Okay. So I have a feeling, what if, of course, everyone's like on the same team in Star Wars, but what if there's kind of a little almost gauntlet thrown down where it's like, hey, whichever one of these episodes does the best, you're going to get your own mini series of like 10 episodes for yourself. And what if there's something like that? I mean, maybe we get one of these shows might get spun off into an actual like 8 or 10 episode anime miniseries for Star Wars, and this could be like our first official like anime miniseries under the new Disney umbrella.
Well, hold that thought, because there's a story we're going to talk about right after this one that pertains to one of these stories, which, well, it has a lot to say, with lots of additional storytelling. So we'll get there. But yeah, good thought. And I like that idea of like, oh yeah, let's look at the metrics. Okay, this one's resonating the most with fans. Because I said this on I did a reaction video for this, and basically, I just let everybody right then know I am not an anime fan. It's not anything against people that like anime, or definitely not against the creators. It just, that kind of thing just doesn't jive with me. I just don't like appreciate it to the degree that other fans do, and I don't know. It's just something about a lot of the personalities are over the top. The big eyes and the big hair and all that kind of thing. It just doesn't really resonate with me a whole lot. So that being said, though, and this is what I said in my reaction too, like they are giving us kind of like the smorgasbord, from what it seems, of anime. Like we have all these different Star Wars anime variety, from like a Rhapsody rock thing on Tatooine to like super edgy like the Duel, or like, you know, the Jedi, or they have like the romance thing. Like when I was watching the 30-minute panel last Saturday, they had the creators talking like for a few minutes about each one. So it really seems like there might be a gateway. This might be like the gateway for people like myself that aren't really into it but love Star Wars, to be like, hey, I like this studio. What else did they make from anime that I can watch now? And it could do the same thing with the Japanese audience. Hey, you know, I don't know Star Wars too much, but after watching this, let me go watch The Force Awakens or Rogue One or something like that. So, yeah, it's definitely something that could really be a great kind of interface for getting people involved.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Chris, you know, I don't know if if you're a Matrix fan, Chris. I don't know. Have you seen those movies? Keanu Reeves and all them, the Matrix trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I heard
So there's a movie that takes place in between. I believe the first Matrix and the second one is called the Anti-Matrix. Have you seen it?
Oh, the Animatrix?
Yeah, the Animatrix. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I haven't seen it. I heard good things about it though.
Yeah, I've seen, because there's like 10 episodes, I think, in that short stories, I guess, in that film, but there's different animation styles, and a lot of it's very much Japanese animation heavy, clearly with the American, you know, dub and everything like that. So this particular show reminds me of something to that extent, not with all the psychological stuff with the Matrix, but more like with the influence of the Japanese filmmaking, animation, storytelling, that type of thing. Because I know for me personally, and I'm curious to hear what you guys got to say. There are probably 5 episodes that I'm really looking forward to seeing. One, The Duel, Tatooine Rhapsody, The Twins, The Elder, and The Ninth Jedi. Like, when I see those titles, I'm thinking, okay, is that something that's going to really like stand out to me? Will it be familiar? Will it be new? So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to those particular episodes when they come out. How about you guys?
Yeah, I'll definitely kind of echo what you just said about the certain titles there, with the Duel, with basically all the ones you just said, the Ninth Jedi, the Elder, the Twins. I mean, yeah, Tatooine Rhapsody could be interesting because they showed concept art of a hut with hair that looked like a metalhead. So that was interesting. And that one also has a really cool anime looking Boba Fett.
Yeah. I mean, even the Village Bride one, I'm thinking, like, is that going to be like a Kill Bill type episode? You know, because in Kill Bill she's called the Bride. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, this might be a weird revenge one. Again, I'm just speculating, but just the titles themselves, I'm like, okay, hopefully these are interesting enough to where they do challenges as viewers and Star Wars fans.
Maybe the Village Bride set in Bright Tree Village with the Ewoks and Leia.
Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I like the one that's called the Twins because it looks like they're 2 Inquisitors from the designs I've seen that are in the Empire, and it looks like a lot of interesting things could happen there. But what also struck me was the Duel, because it was all black and white, and you have like the samurai-inspired design with like the straw hats on droids, and like the stormtroopers looking like those toys that they made from the not too long ago, the Kotobukiya makes like these samurai inspired, imperial design things from Mandalorians to stormtroopers and all of that feudal Japanese design. So it looked like stuff was like inspired with this or whatever. But the cool thing, it was like black and white in the concept art, but then they would show like a splash of like red from like one of the samurai inspired katana lightsabers. So it was really like artistically done. I'm like, oh man, that looks like I can appreciate the design for that.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Ben, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say that's one of the biggest things with anime. No matter what it is, whether it's this or any of the other anime things we've ever talked about or viewed, like the designs are always so unique, and it's just gonna be interesting seeing, with this being multiple different studios making these projects, it'll be interesting to see what types of like anime designs they bring to the table, based on whatever their former projects were in the past. So I don't know. It's gonna be really cool just to see where they go with it, what time period they're set in, because as Star Wars fan, or as now like them being Star Wars creators, how old are they? Did they grow up? What era did they grow up in? Are they younger? Are they in their late 20s, early 30s? Are they older where maybe they're, maybe they don't like a certain era, maybe they don't like the prequels or whatever. Like, so it'll be interesting to see where these individual stories fall in, like what era they do.
Yeah, they definitely look like a lot of them are Imperial era, right? Like that's the only thing. It's like I don't really see any sequel trilogy or prequel love, but I think most of the creators seem like they were from the older generation. Not throwing them under the bus or anything, but like in the interviews, a lot of them were probably in their 40s and 50s, which obviously they would gravitate more toward the original trilogies. But I don't want to put anybody in a box. I'm not trying to put anybody in a box or anything, but that's just some
Right.
thoughts I had. So the next thing is connected to Visions, and we also got, this is from Del Rey, Star Wars. They create the novels, obviously. We have the Ronin novel, which was already previously announced, but they just basically released like the synopsis and everything. And this Ronin novel will tie in to the Duel, which is the one that we were just speaking of with the cool artwork, with the flavorful design of the colors and all. They basically said that this short story or this short film had so much like lore that was built into it that they literally had no other choice but to like fill out some of it with a book, like a full-fledged novel. So they have the synopsis here, and I don't know if you guys checked it out, but I'll just basically read right from the Star Wars page right here, and this is how it goes. A mysterious former Sith wanders the galaxy in a stunning Star Wars tale, an original novel inspired by the world of the Duel from the Star Wars Visions animated anthology. The Jedi are the most loyal servants of the Empire. Wait, what? The Jedi are the most What? What's going on here? Anyway, I'm going to continue. Two decades ago, Jedi clans clashed in service to feuding lords. Sickened by this endless cycle, a sect of Jedi rebelled, seeking to control their own destiny and claim power in service of no master. They called themselves Sith. Sith rebellion failed, succumbing to infighting and betrayal, and the once rival lords unified to create an empire. But even an empire at peace is not free from violence. Far on the edge of the Outer Rim, one former Sith wanders, accompanied only by a faithful droid and the ghost of a less civilized age. He carries a lightsaber, but claims lineage to no Jedi clan, and pledges allegiance to no lord. Little is known about him, including his name, for he never speaks of his past nor his regrets. His history is as guarded as the red blade of destruction he carries sheathed at his side. As the galaxy's perpetual cycle of violence continues to interrupt his self-imposed exile, and he is forced to duel an enigmatic bandit claiming the title of Sith, it becomes clear that no amount of wandering will ever let him outpace the specters of his former life. Star Wars Ronin, a Visions novel, arrives October 12th and is available for pre-order now. So there you go, guys. And by the way, this is going to be written by Emma Miyako Condon. Got to give her credit for that. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I think it sounds really interesting. I mean, as I alluded to, I feel like, even you just reading that, if that really does take off, that specific episode, the duel, this could get spun off into a show. It really could. Like, if they're already that confident with this specific story, they're making a book about it already, and you could pre-order it and everything. Like, that just gives me a lot of faith that this story is going to be really, really good. And I'm just interested to see what the characters end up being, like the names, if they're just new, unique names, or or if they just reimagine older characters or characters in the Star Wars universe. Like, I just cannot wait. Like, what if we get to the end of the series, and with it being an anime series, what if like this Sith is Obi-Wan Kenobi or something? Like, because it could be anything. So, like, I'm just so excited for this, because they have so many freedoms for these stories. Like, it just, I don't know, there's a lot they can do with this project.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even just hearing that, like, I want that to be a movie or be some type of like animated, like something, because it's just it's a crazy idea. I know this is not going to happen, but I know we have the Darth Bane trilogy and how, like, the Sith became the rule of two. But what if some weird way, like, this duel is like they show how, like, the Sith Wars like started and all that stuff. Like, it'd be just tight if they, not saying they would tie it together, but give us a different perspective of what it looked like, with the Sith and the Jedi at war, and how the Sith became the Sith Knights and all that type of stuff. Like, again, just hearing that synopsis, like, it's like, man, like, I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. Like, just hearing that, saying, like, man, like, could you imagine what we can get? Maybe this was like the early beginnings, or just like a wise tale of like how the Sith and the Jedi broke apart. And again, it's fascinating just reading that. It sounds like that should be a great story that needs to be told, whether it's film, TV, animation, wherever. Like, I need to see that. And honestly, I may get this audiobook if it's really that good. So
probably worth getting, honestly. Probably worth getting.
It probably is. I mean, I it's nice to see, and this is what I like about Star Wars in this particular project. Well, I'm actually high on it, because again, it's a different culture that's just getting to express themselves as Star Wars fans. Like, how many times have we had that? I mean, we have video game creators from different companies that make the games, and some of them are great, some of them are good, but we're getting authentic Japanese storytelling via Star Wars. How amazing is that? Again, a lot of the Star Wars concepts now in the movies stem from, Akira Kurosawa and like his influences on the project. So to me, it just makes sense.
Yeah, they're paying homage to the Hidden Fortress and the Seven Samurai. Like, they do that constantly in the Clone Wars and animated series. Even Mandalorian had that episode. The third episode we mentioned earlier is all about that. We have some comments in the chat. Definitely gonna read those out. We have Dark Nerdy Gonzo, a friend of mine from New York Comic Con. Would be cool if they take some ideas from the last version of Battlefront 3 that would have had a dark side Kenobi. Would be sweet, along with a Vision sword inspired by Star Wars Death Troopers. Yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, I mean, talking about just having the certain terms that we know of mix in with this new tale. Like, they're talking about the Empire, but it's like, the Empire never had Jedi, but that's also, or the Jedi were never Sith and all that. But it's cool because, like you were saying earlier, Milton, like, they might like cherry pick some stuff like that. Like, what if this is like the origin of the Sith and the Jedi? Like, they used to be one thing. I think a lot of people assume that they used to be one organization, and they have a sect that like splinters off and becomes a Sith, and one becomes a Jedi. So, like, they're kind of like feeding us that information. Although not canon now, it could be pieced together later on. But it would be really cool. And I can't give myself credit for this because we also explained this on Twitter. I had a Twitter thread going along, and somebody was like, all right, well, this obviously isn't called Star Wars Legends, because we're figuring out, like, okay, this isn't canon. But is there a certain term we can give this to, like, let people know that it's not canon, but it's not Legends either? And this one person came up with the term of mythos, and I really like the idea of mythos, and they could have like the mythos banner on these books. Like, it's not legends, but it's mythos. It's something that was like created during the current timeline, but that's not part of the current timeline, and it adds like
Just
a credibility to like mythos. It sounds epic.
right.
Like we got these Sith and we got these Jedi, and they could have like the mythos, kind of like the High Republic is right now. Like have the mythos like storyline where it's just like all about the duel and everything that's going along with the storyline. They could literally just paste this thing sounds so epic. They could have this going for like multiple books or more animated shorts and stuff.
Just do it. Just do it like DC does it. DC has their Elseworlds type stories or their multiverse type stuff. I mean, right there's your answer, because a lot of the Elseworld stories in DC are usually one-offs, or their multiverse. There's multiple Earths, so like Earth 1 to Earth 52 or whatever.
Yep.
So there could be 52 versions of Luke Skywalker. Once he could be an alien, he can be Japanese, whatever. So I like the term mythos, but right there's your answer. So you can tell Star Wars from a different universe of far. What's the title? Far away, a long gone. However it goes, I should know that. I'm a freaking fan. But anyways, the title of every movie starts off saying this occurred in another galaxy of far, far away. So it can be just like that. Like that's cool. Again, it's nice to see that we're getting this.
Yeah, Ben.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be really. I think the Mythos titles is a really good title because, like you said, then it gives a little bit more like credibility, I guess you would say. Like, sure, it's still not canon, but like you said, it's under the new Disney umbrella, so they have to kind of separate it. So like, Mythos is a really good title. Like, I think that also fits like the vibe of it as well, if you get what I mean. Like with the samurais, like the, just the vibe of anime. I feel like Mythos is like almost an anime type of term, I guess. So I don't know. I think it's really cool. And I just can't wait to see where they go with it. I'm really, really excited. Like, because let's say this goes over really well, like we were saying with like the Bad Batch and even Star Wars Biomes and other projects like that. Like, if this goes over really well, what if every year or every couple of years they just do a new season of Visions where it's 10 episodes, and then this can be a creative launching point for potential anime, like people working on anime. Like, this could be a good potential launching point for like up and coming creators wanting to get into this space. So who knows? We might be able to get like all kinds of different stories. Like, say we have however many creators on this season. Next season we could get 10 more creators, and then 10 more, and so on and so on and so on. So then we get all kinds of Star Wars storytelling.
Yeah, it's just really neat because in the article, they explained that this project was literally done in a year. Like, this started in the midst of COVID. They were able to actually coordinate with all these Japanese artists overseas. Nobody actually met each other in person once. They originally wanted to do this and have them come over to like Skywalker Sound, then the pandemic happened. So just the fact that they were able to do this all in the confines of 1 year with 7 different studios, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities to, like you said, Ben, maybe have this come out on a yearly basis, have everybody developing it, whether it be continuations of prior stories, get new studios involved that are very well-known studios to see what their take on is Star Wars, or independent people as well that are just kind of hitting their stride. I think that could be really cool. And just overall with Star Wars, actually like stepping outside of the timeline, like officially, is huge for them. They've been so bogged down since 2014 about every little thing has to be canonical, and we've seen little hints of where they are going off with like certain animated series. Oh, this is not in the continuity because this character did this in a comic book, and we're overriding that with the show. Little stuff like that. But up until now, they haven't like blatantly said out loud like, hey, we are not part of the timeline. Like, we are being firm in our belief that we are going to tell these stories outside. We're not going to have those creators bogged down with the details. So now they're going to see how the audience responds, and it's in everybody to watch these things, because if everybody watches these things and the numbers are good, then that sends a positive message for them to say, hey, let's do more of this. Like we got to vote with the views, right, to kind of get those up, and we'll see Disney doing something else. We'll see Lucasfilm like taking more risk like this, and it's just good because, hey, you know what? There's so much Star Wars being developed. If I don't like this, that's okay, because there's somebody else out there like this, and I know as a fan there's something else coming down the pipeline every month or every 2 months that I'm going to enjoy anyway. So what's really cool is if it's your loss, no big deal. There's always other Star Wars content you can enjoy, and vice versa.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think also to throw out there with this, I just think, like you said, it can hit so many different audiences. Like, if you enjoy anime, you can watch it. If you don't enjoy anime, you don't have to. But maybe if you don't, if you're sitting here listening to us talk about this anime show for the last however many minutes, and you're not an anime fan, at least give it a try, because then who knows, this show might hook you and get you into this show and get you into like the Star Wars universe, and maybe you might end up really liking it. Like, Star Wars can put a unique spin on things unlike any other property, because we're all Star Wars fans. We love Star Wars. Like, so many of us will watch, like I always joke around about, we could watch a movie called like the Jawa Adventures, and we would go stand in line opening night. But for even the people that are on the fence, I feel like with this show, give it a shot, because with it being a mythos type of show, we don't know really what to expect with it. Anything could happen. So, it could be just a brand new story that really, really hooks you, and there you go. You have a brand new favorite type of show to watch.
Heck yeah. And speaking of shows, we have quite the show to talk about, at least from my perspective, in my opinion, to talk about tonight. Of course, spoiler alert for everybody that hasn't watched the show, hasn't watched the episode. This is your official spoiler alert. So come back, watch, yada, 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 as we say every week. Let's jump in to Devil's Deal. This is episode 11 of season 1 of The Bad Batch. And we are taking a sidestep from The Bad Batch, and we are focusing on the planet of Ryloth. Yes, that planet where the Twi'leks are located, their home planet. We've seen it in Clone Wars. We've seen it in a couple novels. And we get to, big spoiler here, see Hera as a little kid. We get to see her family, Cham Syndulla. We get to see her mother for the first time. They are in the midst of being kind of revamped with their defense of the Republic now being the Empire, kind of getting rooted in there. They have different kind of refinery plant going up, but not everybody is on board with, just being subservient to the Empire. We have Gopi, I think his name is, which is like, I guess, some relation to Cham. He is actually smuggling arms because he doesn't believe that they should just kind of bow down. So that's where the Bad Batch comes into play. They are the ones that are giving them the armaments from, of course, Sid, and that's when Omega meets Hera, and they get to understand what flying is about and different things. By the end of this episode, they get caught. The arms gets caught, and next thing you know, Hera has to flee for her life with Chopper as everybody gets arrested. So my initial thoughts are, wow, this show's back on track. I think after seeing this episode, there's a lot to think about here. There's a lot to think about Bad Batch as a show entirely. There's a lot to think about the entire Star Wars timeline continuity for the sake of how these different animated series are interlinking. But what I will say is I was more engaged with this episode than a lot of the episodes in the past. And now that could be because I like these characters that have been pre-established. It is nice to get away from the Bad Batch. But this episode was so good in its own right, with really seeing the struggle of a society having to like give up their arms. I feel like they did it so much better than the previous episode, in which we've seen the Separatists kind of lay down their arms. There wasn't a lot of nuance or layers to that Separatist leader. Heck, I don't even really remember his name. That's how much he impacted me. But to see what they're all doing on Ryloth, to see even the clone trooper himself that had ties to Cham, Houtzer, I think his name was, that clone even kind of second guessing what Rampart, the officer, was doing, seeing just like the little things with Hera, like dealing with like flying and seeing all that information there. Seeing the shocking revelation when, like, Crosshair is sniping Lorne Top Free or whatever his name was, the Senator Tweedlick. There was just so much to break down. But I got to hear what you guys have to say because we haven't really talked about this a whole lot. I'm going to throw it to Milton because I know you just watched this episode right before we recorded. So you're fresh off of this episode, man. I want to hear your initial thoughts.
Yeah. So after watching it, I thought it was a solid episode. I wasn't too excited about it because at first when I first watched it, I'm thinking, okay, where are they going to take this? And I'm expecting the Bad Batch to show up like ASAP to do a mission. However, as the episode progressed, like you said, spoilers, this was pretty much, I think, kind of a setup origin story for Hera, from my perspective. Because again, when I saw that particular character, I'm thinking, oh, that's Hera, and that's probably gonna be Chopper. Which we were right. That was Chopper. It was cool to see Chopper. I will say I've missed that character. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I miss Chopper. Overall, I thought the episode was solid. I mean, it was a good setup for I guess there's 16 episodes in this season, and we're on episode 11. So I'm thinking for at least the next 5 episodes, Ryloth's going to be a pretty significant planet we're going to be at for a while, because the Bad Batch just dropped off the weapons, Crosshair, tagged the ship, so he's got to figure out where they get these weapons at. So I think Ryloth's going to play a big significant. It's going to be part of the finale in a significant way, I think.
Oh.
And I think, in my opinion, so I think that kind of like in Rebels, how what's the planet in Rebels that's significant for Hera or for Ezra?
Lothal?
Yeah, Lothal. So kind of like Lothal was that planet, and throughout that first 2 seasons for sure, I think Ryloth will be very significant for the finale of this particular season. I think we're going to see a lot of tragedy for Hera. We're going to see something happen to her mom, because her mom's going to get killed.
Yeah.
Like, you just sense that already.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think this show is setting up their finale run. I think they're going to say, hey, now people are going to start getting offed. We're going to start seeing the Empire pushing their agenda more often. We're going to see how the Empire now is going to become the face to everybody. They're going to say, hey, we're not just going to protect you. We are kind of the bad guys. So we're going to get more of that. Overall, I thought it was a solid episode. It wasn't my favorite, but after what we saw before and where we're going now, I was totally okay with the setup.
Good.
So I'm like, okay, it is what it is.
So
the one thing go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So would you say you're back on board now? Because I know your score of a 1.5 for the previous episode.
Yeah, last episode was trash. Yeah, facts. Again, it's definitely not. I think I said 1.5 last week.
Yeah.
It's definitely not that. So, and I'll get my score later. I will say the only negative I didn't like about this particular episode was the voices of Hera. I'm like, that don't sound like her.
Really?
Like, why wouldn't they get old girl like to come back, just drop her voice down a couple octaves, make her younger? But like, I'm like, she's got that French Canadian like voice going on. I'm thinking like, but then like, I'm like, okay, maybe she grows out of her accent, because think about it, she's with her team when we first meet her, so she's been smuggling, doing some off the wall stuff, pretty much on the run, or just being a criminal, I guess, or vigilante. So she probably had to adapt to that underground world and get rid of her accent.
Well,
so then I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense now. She's got that thick, heavy native accent.
Just to throw it out there real quick, and I'll let you get back to your point. One of my buddies pointed this out because, I mean, before I'll get into my stuff later, but I had an issue with the accent as well, and I was talking to one of my friends about it, and he said there was an episode in Rebels where Hera was talking to Cham, and she actually talked in that kind of French-Canadian accent. So basically, his theory was maybe she talks like that, they talk like that among their people, and then she's talking in more of like the normal English accent when she's with Kanan and the other people. Right. And, just to throw that out there for you.
No, I think that makes sense. I was about to say, and that goes to my point of, she had to probably drop that accent when she's away from her native people because she's on the run or smuggling, or maybe she just don't feel comfortable speaking that native language in front of non-natives. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have family that live in inner city Baltimore and inner city Philly, and the way I talk to people up here is completely different than when I talk to them down there. Because again, I don't want them to. I am who I am. I'm very authentic, but I am more myself in the sense of when I'm around them, when I can talk more like that, pretty much that environment. So I get where the whole voice thing comes in. So that was my only critique because I wasn't used to it.
Yeah, no, I actually really enjoy. You know what? We'll talk more about that. I do want to hear Ben's initial thoughts before we get too far now.
Well, I thought it was. I'm not sure how I feel about this episode. Like, I think it was good. It had some really good moments, and of course, it's great seeing Hera. Like, that's really nice. Her accent was very jarring to me until I talked to my friend about that earlier today, and then I kind of understood it. And it just made me laugh because I was like, well, you had Freddie Prinze Jr., who's like in his 40s, voice a young Kanan, so why didn't you have Hera's voice actress do that? So that was kind of a little thing as well for me.
She did.
Oh, was that her?
Yeah, it was great.
Wait, that was her? Like,
that was
I
her.
forget her name, but they got her to do it?
She did a great job. I was waiting for you guys to say something, but you obviously really realized.
I had no idea that was her because I couldn't tell. I was
that's how good she was.
I couldn't tell, it was so jarring.
I was like, who is this person? Like, why didn't just get the same actress and just drop her voice?
I think she dropped it,
literally,
though.
Soon as she started speaking, I said, what is wrong with Hera's voice? But literally, that's all I was thinking for like the first 5 minutes. I was like, holy smokes, this is what we're going to deal with for a half hour. But no, I thought the episode was fine and all. Like, there were some good moments in it. Like I said, with Hera, of course, seeing Chopper, like you said, Milton, it's surprising to say, it's nice seeing Chopper back a little bit. And then honestly, my biggest takeaway from that whole thing was just the clone trooper kind of rebelling, or like kind of questioning Admiral Rampart a little bit.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, could the chips be malfunctioning, or like as the clones are aging, are the chips like aging and slowly starting to malfunction or decay, I guess, since they're in their brains and stuff? Like, that's something that came out of it for me. And then of course, as you said, this is kind of just like a setup episode, because I have a feeling we're going to get to like the next episode, especially after Omega. It was neat. It was nice seeing Omega and Hera's interaction. And I love, Omega's like saying, hey, I'm going to keep an eye on you when they go into the ship and everything. Like,
yeah,
so that's good seeing like Omega, be weary of even other kids. Like, that is a cool, thing, but it's cool seeing her grow up a little more. But I just thought it was fine and all. I think the part I really didn't like with this is just how little the Bad Batch was in it, especially for it being episode 11. So like I said, it was good for what it was, but yeah, it definitely was not what I was expecting for episode 11. So hopefully this carries on to much better episodes, and then we'll be able to look back on it and go, okay, that made sense. But for it being a standalone episode, I was definitely very iffy on it, to say the least.
And this is the big conversation I want to have tonight and this was the question I had when I first heard this show was announced during the setting I was like, is it worth calling this show the Bad Batch? If they start calling it the Bad Batch, if they are calling it the Bad Batch, they kind of dig themselves into a hole where they can't really expand too far out to other characters because they got to remain laser focused on these groups of characters. But at the same time, I feel like the Dark Times, there's so many factions, so many other characters that really giving it that Clone Wars era vibe. I was calling it like, hey, maybe they should just call it the Dark Times and then have an anthology feel, or 3 or 4 episodes with the Bad Batch, 3 or 4 episodes with Sham, stuff like that. And now maybe they could be doing that and just calling it the Bad Batch. They had Bad Batch in there for 3-4 minutes. The rest of it was focused on Hera, so why focus that much on Hera Syndulla if she's not going to be integral to the Bad Batch? Is it possible she could join the Bad Batch crew? At this point, anything could be put out there because we know not that much of her at this point of her life. Maybe she tags along. I don't believe that that's the last time an Omega and her are going to pal around, but this is where things stretch out. It's like, okay, I watched this episode And I'm gonna be straight honest with you guys. I was more interested on what was happening with Ryloth than what's been happening with Bad Batch. And I don't know, that's kind of bad to say when the show is called Bad Batch. I'm like, I want to see more of what's happening with Ryloth. Like, it's just because the Bad Batch, honestly, they haven't really given me much development in the last 5, 6 episodes. They haven't really grown that much, and it's like we're seeing them go on mission after mission after mission, and it's like, oh, cool, let's actually like look at the bringing up of Hera and what's going on with Chopper and all those guys. Great. Again, I have a little bit of bias because we had 4 seasons of Star Wars Rebels, and it's cool to see these characters return. But I mean, that also does worry me. It's like that where it goes that quickly to have that little of time Bad Batch, and I'm already like looking in another direction kind of thing.
Well, Chris, I think another thing with that is, I was talking with one of my friends, like I said, about this episode, and he thinks as well, since this episode was not, since it was not near as focused on the Bad Batch, obviously, maybe this is a clear sign we're going to get a season 2 of this show, because what was a key hallmark thing of Clone Wars and Rebels? They would have these spin-off episodes that really don't add into the overall greater picture. Like, I mean, look, in Rebels, we had like the puffer pigs with Lando and all that stuff, or the, those type of things. Like, maybe we'll have a couple episodes spinning off and then go back to whatever the story may be. Like, maybe this is just like the beginning for a season 2 of the show.
Yeah, that's the thing that always bothers me, is like they never announced the darn season 2 until like the show's pretty much over. Just as long as they're not like Netflix and they cancel shows that are should be renewed. I'm never gonna live it down that they got the Dark Crystal for 1 season after all the work and props they made. It's like a crime that happened. But anyway. Milton, what do you think about Bad Batch now? How they took a detour with so much little time on the Bad Batch this episode? Did you enjoy like taking a step away from them for this episode, or would you rather have seen them more?
No, I think it was necessary. I think, just from my perspective, because again, last episode was garbage, and so to me, I was like, either they were going to blow me outside of the water, or kind of just build me up. I felt this episode built me up slightly, just because, again, we got glimpses of them and we know they're out there doing their thing. But again, how they built us up was they brought back characters we're familiar with. That's how they got us. That's how they got me. Because again, I told you, I liked seeing Chopper. It was nice to see him just goof off. It was nice to see Hera. We know her story. Cham, we know what he's like in the Old Republic and what's his ultimate ending. So it was nice to see that these characters that we're familiar with came back, and we know they're going to play a role in the development, hopefully, of the Bad Batch. So that's why I was okay with this episode. It's kind of like, again, I'm using a sports analogy again, but in wrestling, you always take that up and coming baby face, and you want to give him that rub and put him over with the title. So in this sense, we took these old characters that we're familiar with, and we sprinkle some dust on the Bad Batch. Say, hey, we're going to get you over by using some familiar characters, so the fans will come back to you. The fans will embrace you again. So that's how I feel with it.
Yeah, another big question that's been going around Twitter today is the galaxy becoming too small, would you say? I mean, we got so many characters from Kanan in Rebels to Hera today. We got in Saw Gerrera. We got in Tarkin. We got in Bib Fortuna. We've got.
That's a good question.
So many characters that have been pre-established. Would you say they're going too far at this point?
No, because those characters, especially like the Heras, the Kanans, like we need this. I mean, yeah, we know their story in Rebels. I get that, but at the time they were new characters for us. We didn't know who they were, so we all embraced them. We loved them. So now we get to see a different side of their story. So it's okay to introduce them. I think we got the Bad Batch themselves. That's a new group of characters that we had no idea that existed in Star Wars until the 8th season of Clone Wars. So to me, it's not shrinking the world. You're just telling more of the story. What happened with how the Empire became who they were. So you're just getting a different perspective of it with characters that, again, they would be around because the Empire hasn't fully taken over yet. You know, that's just the order
Yeah.
of Star Wars. You're going to run into those characters. Now, it'd be different if we ran into like Han Solo for some weird reason that would make no sense.
I thought we were going to do that.
Which we could, but it better make sense. I see no reason why we need to. You know, if we ran into, Vader right now, it makes no sense. Vader would not focus on these group of guys. He's focused on him now. He's in the suit, how he's going to adjust to being Darth Vader and where his role is in the Empire. That's his focus. It's okay to see these little guys in the Empire building themselves up and trying to like take over. Like that. What's the admiral or general today?
Rampart.
Yeah, I don't know who he is.
No,
and
he's new,
I'm sure he's going to try to like plot and scheme to get himself up. He's probably going to be like Krennic and be like trying to sneak himself up the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to see what these weasels are going to do in the Empire.
Oh yeah, I mean, to bounce off your points, like I don't think Star Wars is getting too small unless, like you said, we're getting into like, oh, Han's also on Ryloth too, just because. I don't mind, us seeing Hera because it makes sense, or Tarkin. It obviously makes sense for Tarkin or Saul Guerrero because he's up and coming in the uprising rebels and everything. And then I feel like if anybody, of course everyone can have their own opinions and things, but I feel like if anybody likes Omega, but then says Hera and these other things are making the universe smaller, I'm like, hold up. Omega is Boba Fett's sister. That is as small as it gets. Like, so I just don't think they're making the universe smaller with these characters. And what? Also, what's going to, at the end of the day, what's going to give us, say if we're Lucasfilm, what's going to give us views on our show? Have an episode featuring Hera and Chopper, like their backstory they alluded to in another show that's already on our Disney Plus servers, or would we rather just go to some other random planet just for the heck of it because we want totally all new characters? And as you both said, we already have some new characters like the Bad Batch themselves. We have Rampart and these type of characters that are the main characters. And then these other characters are just adding to our new main character stories.
Very true. Very true. It's just the issue is kind of with this episode, and that's why I kind of brought this up, is like, if we start to get the Hera every week, if we start to get Hera, all this development in Hera, and we get like 3 minutes of Bad Batch per week, then I think that's when the red flags have to go up, where it's like,
Yep.
All right, what story are we actually telling here? Hera's story or the Bad Batch?
No, Chris, you're not wrong. And you look, I'll be the first one to say it. I'll be like, yeah, what the hell's going on here? Because again, if you want to introduce her now to show how she became who she became, but organically tied into the story of Ryloth now trying to become demilitarized, Empire's taking over, Bad Batch is the smuggling of the weapons, Crosshair is going to figure this out. That's going to make sense. But then if it's flipped to where, oh no, we're just going to have Hera just save the day, and then she's going to meet Zeb, and she's going to meet Kanan, and then what's her name? The girl with the hair.
Sabine.
And the Sabine's going to show up. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, no. They're all like babies right now. They ain't going to make sense. So again, I'm hoping, how I'm seeing it is that Crosshair is going to figure something out. He's going to know, wait, where'd they get these weapons from? Hera, who'd you get? He's going to interrogate Hera. Who'd you speak with? Oh, some blonde head chick. I think her name was like Omega or Alpha or something. Oh, shit. He's going to put together and say, wait a minute, those are my guys. Like, again, that's how you would write it.
Well, in the next episode, just to throw out there, while you guys are theorizing and talking, the next episode is titled Infested, so...
No, it isn't. It's Rescue on Ryloth.
Oh, I was thinking it was Infested. Oh, okay. Rescue on Ryloth. Oh, okay. Well, then we definitely know what's going to be happening then.
Yeah. So, like you said, right? I guarantee you, Crosshair or somebody's going to use Hera and say, who'd you guys communicate with?
Yep.
They're going to find out who it is. Then they're going to use Hera to get a hold of Omega because they're going to play off that friendship. Because you saw how close they were getting already about the whole flying element, and how it's a feeling, and they're both young and they both have aspirations of doing more, blah, blah, blah. They're going to play off those kids' emotions to get them to communicate. Guarantee you.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I would write the show.
Well, especially after Omega and Hera's interaction. I mean, you have their interaction in the ship. Like, they're definitely going to play off those two's interaction. And hey, also to throw out there with that clone trooper being a little bit defiant. Sure, the next episode is Rescue on Ryloth. Following one being infested. What if infested? It means their chips are starting to malfunction in some way or another, and then
that's
Project War Mantle. So, like, I think as you said, Milton, I think they're definitely going to be playing off the kids. You most likely broke down next week's episode already. I mean,
I wrote the scripts. Listen, I didn't tell you all, but I'm actually working for Lucasfilm secretly.
Oh man.
Yeah. And written by Milton Weber. Like that would be a pretty big breaking story here on the Outer Rim transmission.
Let's go.
But yeah, I think for sure we're gonna get something along those lines, and then I feel like it's we'll go along the lines of, hey, maybe Crosshair and the gang will reach out and be like, hey, we have your little friend Hera, blah blah blah, and maybe the Bad Batch themselves are going to be like cautious, and then Omega is going to be pushing for it, Yeah. And that's how we're going to get them to Ryloth.
Yeah. So, quick question. Now that we're a little bit halfway over season 1. What are your guys' feelings on Crosshair? Do you think he's a good villain?
No, because we haven't got enough of him yet. Like, yeah, we've gotten him in pieces. Like the first three episodes, I think we got a lot of him. Then they kind of went away from his character. Then we saw him when they tried to get Omega at the junkyard and shipyard place, which was cool. And then they kind of went away from that because we really don't know how he's recovering from all his injuries. I mean, we saw like in this episode, the back of his neck looked all jacked up, but it's like now he's just like, okay, I'm just following orders and just being part of the special unit that I'm a part of, and that's it. Like, he killed that senator today, which again they shot him in the face. Which is crazy.
No. Let's address that real quick. There's, Ben was telling me about, oh no, another retcon. Oh no. So apparently, Lorne Freeta, that Twi'lek, he is in Lords of the Sith novel, which has Vader and Palpatine.
Oh, that's right.
Going down there, and he is alive at that point. But if you actually go back and really pay attention to that episode that we just got today, they say something about, oh, you are being arrested for attempted assassination, and they're carting away that guy. You can see his toes wiggling or something. Like he's somehow
he gets sniped in the head.
I swear to God, he got hit in the back of the head or something. Because I was like, oh my God, they just off the old boy.
Well, if he would die though, or in the coming episodes, we'll definitely have another issue.
That's funny. But no, I don't think he's been a great villain. I mean, I think he's been a good adversary. I mean, again, but is he truly a villain? I mean, no. Really, I mean, to his brothers, he's not. He's being controlled.
Yeah, he just seems very one note. Like, he's just, okay, yes, good soldiers follow orders. Like, I would expect to see some kind of infighting going on, because there's been moments, like, early on in the season where, like, he goes back to his old barracks and is, like, sitting down. You can see, like, he's contemplating, like, thinking about what has happened. Like, we haven't gotten any moments like that at all to show any kind of maybe turning or sympathy, unless, I just feel like he'd be more interesting if we got to know more of his inner struggles, and we just haven't really been seeing that right now.
Yeah, I think with him, he was a good villain at first, especially when you had him go to the planet where Saul Guerrero was, and shoot his own guys. Like, it was like, holy smokes, this Crosshair guy means business. And then it's kind of just slowly faded from that. And to me, it's like, if you're gonna introduce a villain like that, you have to keep that going consistently. Like, you can't just have one really fearful type moment like that and then be like, nah, we'll just let it kind of kind of fade away over the coming episodes. So I think he's been an okay villain. Like, he's just, like you said, the guys view him as being controlled. Like, the only way I could see him potentially redeeming getting redeemed as a villain for this show is, like, say if they get his chip out and then he still is bad and still wants to kill the Bad Batch or something. Like, then that's how you can maybe do it. Or maybe if he injures one of the Bad Batch, like, what if he injures, like, Wrecker or someone like that? Like, maybe he'll injure one of them and that'll kind of, like, redeem him as a villain. But up to this point, he's kind of just been fading. And then I saw a funny tweet. Someone just tweeted, it was just some random person. They were like, man, if Crosshair was a G.I. Joe villain, like, he has the perfect, like, high-pitched G.I. Joe, like, type villain for a G.I. Joe movie or something. But I don't know. I think he's okay. But I feel like Admiral Rampart's been more of a villain for this show than Crosshair has.
Yeah, Rampart is so cunning, because when he's about to kill, or at least attempt to kill the senator, and he's like, "You have played your part." Like, he planned on killing the senator from all the beginning, to just, like, frame all the people for them to be like, "Oh yeah, they're bad people. Like, let's have the Empire take them down," or whatever. Because he's just like, "Oh, for your attempted assassination," like, he's putting them to it. And just the way he's acted in the other episodes, trying to get these people on board with the Empire, just being super conniving, and then the Empire is building this Dunium factory and refinery on the planet. So much stuff with the Empire just getting so compelling. That's what I've always loved about the show more than anything else, is how are we seeing the Empire take its foothold from being a republic to the Empire. We're seeing Hauser, that clone. I hope he survives, because he's really cool. I just like the fact that he's actually standing up for himself and be like, wait, what? No. Even though it's funny, because, like, he'll say, like, what? No. And then, like, his troopers are, like, running past him to get the people, even though he's, like, questioning. His men are just, like, superseding his authority and just like, screw it, we're going to do it anyway, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Wasn't he the one that said she's only a kid? Or
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think he's definitely going to turn.
It's just interesting, right? It's like, depending on, I think a lot of it does have to deal with the commander that you're reporting to, is who gets to impart their personality to you. We've seen that time and time again with Rex, with his unorthodox tactics because of Anakin Skywalker. So apparently this clone trooper, I don't know if he always worked for Cham Syndulla or if he was reporting to Cham Syndulla, because I don't recall if there was a certain Jedi that was on Ryloth. There might have been, because the Jedi are usually always in charge of the clones. But obviously at this point, the Jedi are no longer there anyway. So I'm just interested to see, like, more of this guy's backstory if we get it. Like, why is he so, like, non-compliant with Empire rules and regulations? And maybe it could be, like you said. I was also thinking out as well with the whole episode title Infected. Maybe that's one way that the clones die out, is there's, like, an infection with the chips or something.
Yep. That's literally what I was thinking. I think it's going to definitely go in that type of a direction, because, I mean, what else would that title mean? Like, I think it's going to head that way. And again, in the background of all of this, we have the Kaminoans with whatever plan they have going on as well.
Yeah, maybe the Kaminoans had that the infection or whatever to start at a certain point in time. Like, it was a failsafe. No matter what they would have after 15 years, the chips are going to go bad. And that's, like, the way of just remain in control. They have the clones that they can always give, because they're eventually going to die. So the Empire has no choice. Like, they have to just keep buying from them. They're not going to, it's basically like technology today, right? Like your laptop is only supposed to survive for so long, because it's like they want you to buy a new one. So they stay in business that way. So, or phones and whatnot, everything goes obsolete. So you got to upgrade. You got to keep paying them money. So the same thing maybe is what the Kaminoans are doing, and that's why they want to have that backup DNA from Omega, so they can keep those coffers filling up with all the money from the Empire, even though the Empire is like, we don't need you guys anymore. Another thing I really want to talk about is the action. I don't know. For me, I'm just a sucker for some good old Star Wars guerrilla action as far as like the resistance bands, like going against the bad guys there. And I just got a kick out of all the classic Clone Wars vehicles. I mean, as somebody who, like I showed you off my little model over there before, there's the Bark Speeders. I have those, LAATs, the classic Republic gunships flying around, which is a whole lot of fun. Obviously, the turbo tanks, and we even got the blurgs back from now having seen them in live action in Mandalorian, seeing them coming back again in animation. So for me, I was just kicking back like, oh, this is the good stuff of Star Wars. Just seeing these guys. At one point, doesn't somebody get beheaded because he's like going and he slices off.
He gets his helmet knocked off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's his helmet because he gets like he used like that stick or something and he knocks off his helmet. I mean, it's still pretty brutal.
I was like, oh my gosh, the show went that far. They actually decapitated somebody already. Okay. It's not a first in Clone Wars. They've done it in Clone Wars before. But so the action's interesting because I believe they were using stun bolts on the clones as well. It's like, no, like we like the clones like Hauser. We don't want to kill you, but if you're gonna try to kill us, like we got to disarm you somehow. So just get stunned, But
well, that's something to think about right there. Have we seen a clone? I forget. Has Crosshair been stunned yet before? Because I was gonna say, have we seen a clone get stunned? Because what if these stun blasts are malfunctioning the chips or something? I mean, what if? I just thought of that on the spot. I mean, I'm not sure, but that's an idea because maybe if it's sending a shock enough to like knock you out, maybe it's enough of a shock to do something to the chips.
That could be an interesting theory. Very interesting. I do want to bring up the awesome music from the Kiner brothers. I know they were them on Twitter. If you want to follow for what's going to happen in Star Wars Bad Batch the night before, just follow the Kiner brothers Twitter accounts or whoever's in charge of the animation, Joel Aaron and all that. They're always like the promotion for the show. That like the day before, they're like, oh, you're gonna want to watch this episode or stay off the internet because you're gonna get spoiled. Even though apparently Star Wars channel put it out there.
Like I like the Kind of brothers. They're great at what they do. But stop trying to be like Ryan Johnson and hype stuff up and then it ain't working. I don't want to hear that. Like because every time in our group chat. You send a copy of like what they say on Twitter. I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it. Like no, they say if it's not a Luke Skywalker reveal type thing, I ain't buying it.
I bought it this week.
I know, Milton. I was up for this episode at 3:00 this morning.
Because every time, Chris, you say that like you'll send us that thing. I'm like, all right, Kind of brothers, you just trying to. You right. They're hyping the show up, and I don't blame them. Like, they're trying to get their money too.
It's their job, yeah.
It's their job to promote. Go ahead, good for you. I'd do the same thing if I could, but it's like, no, this ain't the finale. 1, 2, like you make it like. Didn't they say something about a certain character's gonna show up or something's gonna happen? I was like, what? And all of a sudden it was. No, I'm like, ain't nobody showing up. Like, what is this? Like, no, I'm good. I was out after that. So.
This morning, you guys should have seen my face at 3:00 this morning. I was like, you know what? Last night I was like, well, I guess I'll stay up and watch this. Since you have these guys tweeting it, and Chris is like blowing up our group chat saying, "Oh, you probably want to stay up for this one." And I was like, okay.
I ain't wasting sleep.
I was like, well, sorry. I'll bite. So I didn't even really like stay up. I took like a whatever 2-ish 3-hour nap, whatever. And I just woke up at like 2:30, 2:45. I was like, well, let's hope this is Boba Fett or something. And then we're 15 minutes in and we haven't seen the Bad Batch. And I'm like, Holy cow. I was like, Chris, I'm about to call you and wake you up in the middle of the night.
You ain't getting me. Okay, look, I'm not falling
holy for it. Smokes.
Yeah, I ain't falling for it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll still definitely read these promos when Chris sends them to us each week, but I'm going to be a little bit more skeptical when it comes to making the choices. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll still be up for like the second to last episode, and of course the finale. I'll just watch it, but Yeah, they definitely have done a good job at hyping things up. I
I mean,
mean,
and that's smart. I mean, you look, they got to get eyeballs on the show, and I understand
yeah.
that. But like I said, kind of brothers, if you're watching, you're not going to get me. Sorry.
Well, the musical cues that they actually teased were pretty good. I got to give them
Yeah.
that because they
Oh,
had
did
that.
you
They
hear
had
Leia's-
that was Hera's theme. Yeah.
Well, God,
It
seeing that
sounds a
sounds
lot
so
like
much
Leia.
like Leia's, or like, I don't know. It sounds so original trilogy to me.
But hey, I bought in. I don't care. I was hyped.
No,
and
it's all good.
I was
they
like,
do a really
dude,
good
this is
job.
great. This is great. Like they actually brought Hera in. And then the funniest part was like a lot of the production people on Twitter are like, no spoilers, no spoilers. And then like freaking Star Wars is putting out official trailer spots with her like dead center. It's like, well, what about the spoilers? Because the freaking official channel just spoiled it. But anyway.
Well, listen to this, guys. My good friend I was talking to you about, he got spoiled for it. He woke up this morning for work at like 6:37, and Star Wars had already tweeted out at like 7:30. They tweeted like the promo for it.
Yeah.
And like you said, Hera was in it. And my friend was like, holy crap, I haven't even had a chance to go to work and get home and watch it yet. And I've already been spoiled that Hera's in this episode by
Well,
Star Wars.
I made it known to those that might listen that, hey, don't do that again because that's not cool. It's like
Yeah.
most of the time they're cool. Like they don't give anything away. But for whatever reason, it's like they just didn't care this week. I don't know. All right. Well, I think I said everything I want to say about this episode. What do you guys? Anything else you want to bring up?
I'm good.
All right, let's give our thoughts and score out of 10. So, I mean, even after explaining, discussing about this episode, my score still remains. I am giving this a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed the heck out of this episode. I feel like it is going to be building the building blocks of Bad Batch and carrying it into that final couple episodes. I think we're seeing a lot of things set up. Yes, it was a setup episode, but I think it was really well paced. Even though we didn't really see the Bad Batch, obviously the namesake of the show, they are building into things like Milton was speculating on that could really turn out to actually be intertwined very nicely if they actually land on this one. Seeing the Empire be so threatening and seeing the struggle of the everyday man that's just for the people and knowing where he ends up and to see him so different at this point in time and seeing the transition, thought they did that wonderfully. Animation, again, incredible. There's this one moment where they're coming in on the ship and there's this like huge dust cloud and everything else and Hera like moving her hand through the air like it's like a spaceship and all like stuff that just looks so good. And of course, the sound, like basically every aspect of this episode for me really hit it home. And yeah, I'm going to stand by that. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And I'll throw it over to Milton.
Yeah, pretty much what I've said earlier. It was a solid episode. It was a setup for sure. Way better than last episode. And I was totally okay that we didn't see the Bad Batch much. I think, again, maybe they watched our episode last week, or maybe they just knew for future reference, like they knew that last episode would be a stinker, so they had to switch it up. But other than that, like seriously though, I thought it was a good setup. I love seeing the characters that we're familiar with. You know, Chopper, Hera, Cham, Crosshair, those guys. It was cool to see that. I think this particular episode will set up where our finale is going to end. And it was nice for them to plant the seeds, and I'll stick by this, that they planted seeds of using Hera and Omega's relationship against the Bad Batch. It just makes sense organically and for storytelling purposes. So to rank this out of 10, I say it's a 7. I'll say 7.5 out of 10.
It's fair.
Good
Ben?
ratings, guys. I would say for me, I think the episode was fine. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't amazing. I think it was fine. Like, we had some good moments, and of course, seeing Hera and Chopper back are great. Like, those are both really, really good characters. And it's cool just seeing their a little bit more of their backstory. It's cool seeing Cham Syndulla. Like, that's always really neat. You know, and of course, as we alluded to, we're not going to see a happy ending for her mom. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we have those things going on with the Syndullas, and then we have the potential, you know, whatever direction the clones' obedience are heading in. Like, are the chips malfunctioning, or is this clone trooper that we dealt with this episode, does he just have a conscience somehow? Like, is he one of the stronger-minded clones? we have that. Uh, we have Omega and Hera interacting. Like I thought that was really nice, just seeing their interaction because I think again, as you said, Milton, it's going to tie forward into another, probably 2 or 3 episodes, or potentially this is going to like lead us home clear to the season finale, potentially. And I think as you were sitting there talking, Milton, I think there's a really decent chance maybe this is all going to wrap back around to maybe Saul Guerrero pops up, maybe Rex pops up, maybe maybe we're going to have these potential rebel figures pop up that we've seen earlier in the season, where it's going to be kind of like the end of Mando season 2, where it's like the quote unquote Bad Batch is all of these rebel figures popping up for whatever it may be. So I think that's the direction it's heading. I definitely, I definitely had an issue at first until you mentioned it, Chris, that Omega's voice for me was really off. I was like, man, or not Omega, Hera's voice was really off. I was like, what is going on? But I mean, it makes sense that she was talking with her own people. So, I guess I can let that one slide after we talked through that little issue.
Yeah, you gotta heighten up your score a little bit now.
Yeah, I can move it up a little bit. I still have a major issue with it being the 11th episode in the series and the Bad Batch only being in it for like 2 minutes. I think that's a big issue because to me, if you're gonna unless again, as we said, unless this episode is the starter for like a 4-part arc or a 3-part, if this turns out to be like a 2-part episode and they just wrap up Ryloth in the next one and Omega says, "See you later, Hera," and we fly away, I think this episode will be I think this arc will be a very shaky one. But with all of that being said, I would have to give this episode a 6 out of 10, I would say. It was fine. Wasn't amazing. Wasn't great. 6 out of 10. That's a solid D minus. So I can give it that. There's all. The best part about getting a D minus is there's always room for improvement. And this show has 5 more episodes, and I hope it improves, and I'm sure it will. One of the best parts about the episode was the fact that Sid wasn't in it because I thought as soon as the Bad Batch said Sid, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But I'm glad Sid wasn't in it. So that was definitely a big plus. But yeah, like I said, overall the episode was fine. And yeah, I give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, and what this episode does is solidifies this is getting a second season. They wouldn't introduce all these legacy characters. I call them legacy characters we have seen before in other things. They wouldn't introduce so many of them in the season 1 if you're not going to, like you said, be more focused on Bad Batch. So this is just like that confirmation that, yes, we are getting a season 2, and maybe we'll have, like you said, this ragtag group of rebels fighting together. Just to kind of finish it off, I really have I'm compelled to watch this episode again, basically. And I haven't had that feeling in a while. Like, I was starting off watching episodes twice in 1 week. I'd watch it initially and watch it later on in the week, and I've kind of stopped doing that. I've been watching the episodes just once so everybody knows, but like, I'm really excited. I think I'll probably watch this episode again because I enjoyed it that much. So for me to do that, that just signifies to me that, yeah, this episode definitely was, for me, it was above average for me to actually take the time to watch it again so soon after watching it for the first time. So that is going to do it for Outer Rim Transmission. This was episode number 15. For more on YouTube on the channel this week, I put up my review for Out of the Shadows there for the High Republic. So check out that review. As far as other comic reviews, I have Bounty Hunters issue number 14 on there, as well as the High Republic Adventures issue number 6. I reviewed that as well. We've had a lot of comics released lately. It's like just an avalanche every week. It's crazy. So definitely subscribe to this channel for more on watching us live every Friday. You'll get the notification when we go live if you hit that notification bell icon. And of course, if you're watching this, you can go ahead and download the episode for your audio listening pleasure on anything from Apple Podcasts to Google Podcasts to Spotify. We put up a new episode every Monday. So for Ben, you can follow him on Twitter at RealBenMaynard. For Milton, at Milton Weber #7. And of course, me, you can follow me on Twitter at Starrapter. So for everybody, thanks for watching and listening. This was Outer Rim Transmission and Transmission. Okay.